I was born. I started out in sort of finding my own path with religion in 1999, and I started tarot reading in 2004. So a very long time now, very, very long time. I also do energy healing because I was taught how to soul cleanse after a battle of depression myself and trying to take my own life a couple of times. Still gets a little bit emotional, that one. That is the one that still gets me. So I just love helping other people. I love giving them the guidance. Because one of the things I actually want to add here, if it's okay, is guidance. Tarot is not telling the future, it is guidance. So all we're doing is guiding you along a path and giving you choices, because that is what fate and destiny does for us anyway.
So let me ask you this question because I've always liked to get a perspective on it. When it comes to tarot reading, clairvoyance, and things of that nature, what are some of the myths or misconceptions that you heard that you like to debunk or clarify today?
Oh, one of the ones that I get a lot is that anyone can do tarot. That is not quite true. One of the important things is get yourself a trainer. Like, get yourself a trainer, get someone that's going to guide you. And one of the important reasons for that is if you disrespect that tarot in any form at all, that tarot will disrespect you and it will act like a Ouija board. So that is one of the major myths I actually find. Tarot can be as positive as you want, but it also can be as negative as it wants. Notice the key? We want the positive, they want the negative. So it's sort of like getting that guidance. The other one, I think for me personally, is about demons. They're not real. Everyone talks about demons, etc. For me personally, they're just spirits, human spirits. Every one that I've come across that has learned to shapeshift. So I sort of have a bit of the way the Native Americans think. So at one point they were human. They've passed, they've just not been able to go into the light. And due to that, they've just got more and more dark as they've stayed here. But not all of them are actually spirits that are passed. So sometimes when we have a traumatic experience, we put that much negative energy out, it actually can form itself into its own demon, own shadow man, as people call them now.
Can you define those terms for us? Shadow man, demon, what are those, and how do they impact our lives?
So a shadow man is everyone, sort of most people know what a shadow man is, the one that stands in the corner staring at you and stuff like that. They're after a mimic. So you have a mimic first, and that'll be the thing where she'll be whispering in your ear, telling you to do things that you usually wouldn't do. Not intrusive thoughts. So there's a massive difference. And the way that I say it is you can tell it's like a thought that echoes in your head rather than an intrusive thought. You can sort of push it away. That thought doesn't, it sort of echoes. So it's like it may change slightly, it may change its pitch, it may change its tone, but you can just feel it's something's not right with it. They then go into a shadow man, which stands in your corner. They actually take your white light, so our soul energy, they like to feed on that. So they'll actually take the white light from us. And they will stand in the corner. They will be the ones which can go next up to the demons. So demons are the ones which can possess, etc. Even though the lower beings can influence your life, so they can make you feel depressed, they can make you feel very negative, they can make you feel like taking your own life and that sort of thing. Whereas what they call demon, I just call them black souls. They are very much the what we see on TV programs, films like The Exorcist, The Conjuring. They are the ones which want to keep you here. There's actually a quote in a book I was reading the other day. Oh, I can't remember the name of the book. It's gone out of my head. Outwitting the Devil. And there's a quote in there, and he says that the devil says to him that their goal is to stop you going into the light. So it's to keep you here to feed on you. And that is what the top dog when they come in is. So that's sort of like the ones where you may see a black dog, or you may see um, a minotaur, or that type of thing. They are the ones which are proper there to scare you.
Mm. So when it comes from, let's say, like a trauma perspective, it could be the presence of this or the energy of this that keeps us in negative thinking.
Yes. So what they love is when we are have trauma. So for some people, which I've actually met, I had a one young lady. She had an abortion, and literally within a day, she had an attachment. And I was like, "How have you got one so quick?" I was like, "What's going on?" And she went, "I feel guilty, just all that guilt." And it felt that, and it was outside the clinic, and it just attached to her straight away. Like she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, because it then knows it can feed off her white light easier, because it can push her down, push her feeling more and more depressed quicker. And there is a difference between normal depression and this type of depression. There is a difference. With normal depression, you will have your odd days that you can get out of bed, where you can be bothered to clean and stuff like that. Whereas this depression is literally, you just can't be bothered to move. I've literally, she wasn't taking her children to school. She was getting her dad to do it, like just out of the blue, all of a sudden. And I was like, there's something not okay. And this is the thing. So it is very, very different. But that trauma of doing that just caused all of that, just caused it to attach. They seem to know when we're at our lowest. Sorry, it makes me angry because I get so angry with them, because I sit there and it just frustrates me, because we can stop it while we're here. And it's like people nowadays don't want to stop it. We're on a different path to actually encourage it. So I get quite frustrated with it.
If from that perspective, then I will agree because I think there's so many people, let's say those who are negative thinking. Everything is negative, right? They wake up in the morning, the bed is fantastic. It's soft, it's gorgeous, silk sheets, nice pillows, and they still complain. Their children are doing well and there's a complaint. They have a good job and there's a complaint. When it comes to the energy that people are putting out, is that one of the ways that they could attract back even more negativity then?
Yes. So also they can actually come a feeder as well. So they can actually take, so they meet people like me, and they will take my white light, and they're actually put their negative energy into me. So that's why sometimes you'll get people, I'm awful for it. I'll get someone that's full of trauma that is one of these people, and they'll chat my ear off. They will non-stop complain to me, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't want that negativity. And they look at me like, excuse me? And I'm like, I don't want that negativity. If you ain't got anything positive to say, I'm a nightmare. I kick people out my energy cleansing. I'm like, if you're not going to get any more positive, I give you 4 weeks. If you're not going to get positive, we're not going to do this anymore. And they're like, but it's only 4 weeks. I says, no, in the human mind, it only takes us 2 weeks to change a habit. So as long as we're doing that constantly, 2 to 6 weeks, that's all it takes us to change a habit. And if you're working with someone once a week, and you've got someone on Messenger once a week that's messaging you going, what's your positive thing for today? And you put back nothing every single time for 4 weeks, it's like you're just draining my energy. You're just taking my energy to rebuild your black light, really. And I'm just like, I don't need that. I don't need that energy. Whereas that's why I like people like you. I'm like, yeah, positive people. I'll put my energy into them.
How can we then identify who's going to be contributors to our energy in a positive way versus contributors to our energy in a negative way?
Drainage. So things like drainage is a massive part of it. So if you walk out of a room and you literally just go, when do I have to next deal with them? Why do I have to listen to them? So if you walk out of a room and you do that, don't deal with that person. They've fed off you. Don't deal with that person again. Or they've got something there that's feeding off you. So if you meet them in a cafe and they're really bubbly and they're really happy and you're chatting away and you actually love their energy and they're not making you feel drained, but you go to their house and it does, there's usually something there. Um, and this is the thing, if they are just draining you, I get this a lot with, I don't mean this really, but CEOs do this to people a lot. Like they really drain their staff, some CEOs, as soon as they sort of walk in the room, they're, or you've got your back up, and it's not the, I don't want to go to this event. So a lot of people say to me, oh, I don't want to go to this event. Why am I making myself go? That's just your anxiety. It's not that sort of thing. It is more the fact of when you're in their presence. The other thing is fear, the needle drop feeling. Now that one's really important. So if you walk in to an atmosphere and you can feel that pin drop and you're just like, oh no, I shouldn't be here. I should not be here. Walk out because there is a negative energy in that place. Um, and yeah, okay, some of it stems from trauma with them, but some of it sadly is taught behavior. And 90% of the time, it's us, sadly, with trauma that we actually um, feel this because our intuition's a lot higher.
I've experienced that where I've walked in a room and I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here. And you feel like you want to run, right? But then the room closes in on you. Then there's that one person that distracts you. Is that like an accurate picturing of it?
Exactly that. Exactly that. And you're just like, oh, do I have to stay? See, I have a nightmare. My husband's amazing, and he will just go, "Ah, I'm feeling sick," and I'll go to him. We'll walk out. So it's like I'm quite blessed with that. He spots now when I'm not okay. Bless him.
I wonder then how many people will get into a situation like that. Let's say you mentioned your husband, right? And my partner and I, let's say we enter a function together. I experience that. They don't. What do you do then? Because you're the one who's able to identify, you're the one who's able to feel it, but this other person is like, Terrain, calm down. Let's go mingle.
So the best way to deal with this, obviously me and my husband have been together 21 years, 22 years this year. So he now knows me. Thank you. He now knows me. So he'll look at me straight away and straight away he'll see the shoulders come up. He'll look at me, my hands are go. So whereas at the minute they're flapping, if I'm anxious or anything, I will literally have them down and they'll do that. So straight away, so he's like, straight away, he just goes, right, we're leaving. We are leaving. So I think it depends on how long you've been with someone to trust their intuition. Um, for some people though, at the start, it was a lot harder for both of us. Like he would say a couple of hours later, he was like, "You're right, we should have left when you said." You were like that. That didn't end up a positive experience. So he will say that later. But for me personally, it's sort of just explaining to them how you felt during that event, how you felt when you walked in. And it's sort of explaining to them that even though you want to be with certain people, there's obviously someone there that's not making it as a positive as it should be.
Come on, AB, you don't want to be a party pooper. Stay, have some fun.
This is the problem, isn't it? Peer pressure, like, and especially for people with trauma, because especially emotional abuse, because I don't mean this really, emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse. So when you've been emotionally abused and you're not over that yet, so, and your intuition is saying, I need to get out of here, I need to run, you're in fight or flight mode, and you're stood there and you're thinking, what do I do? How do I deal with this? And the worst thing is there's nothing you can do. And then you turn into that people pleaser. So then the peer pressure of, don't be a people, come on, don't be a party pooper, come on, have that drink. And this is where then it can lead to addiction a lot of the times as well with trauma and stuff, because then you'll get that peer pressure of have that drink and you'll realize actually I'm a fun person when I've got drink in me, but you're not thinking about in 5 hours time when you're going to be that depresso espresso in your room, and you think, oh, I need more alcohol to make me happier. And this is the problem actually with peer pressure. This is why um, with my girls, people were really shocked. Even when we go on holiday, if they say to me, Mum, I need to leave, even if the other girls are having fun, me and my husband will work out, we'll go, right, which one of us is going back to the caravan to take them back? Or which one of us is doing this to take them out of this situation? When we hire venues for parties and stuff, we actually make sure they've got an offside room so then people like our children, because one of our daughters is severely autistic, can actually go and sit in the offside room. So I think it's little things like that, sort of plan ahead, know your venue, and sort of bits like that that you can sort of hide. I know it's a common thing for us women to go and hide in the toilets, but it makes it a bit obvious, ladies. Makes it a bit obvious.
Oh, I'm one of those people hiding in the washroom. I'm posted up against the wall. I'm on my phone. I'm like, okay, let me catch up on sports. Let me catch up on shows. I have Disney Plus, Netflix on my phone now. Life is great if I want to ignore the madness because it can be a lonely life, right? Like you're that person that you're at a social event and you're always leaving early. And unfortunately, nobody cares what we do, but people see what we do, right?
And then the judgment comes, and then oh my goodness, I've made my partner look silly, I've made my children look silly, I've done this. This is why I love my daughter's autism. She doesn't get any of this. I'm like, I love that. Um, and then all that comes along with it. So I sit there and I'm like, oh, I do it even now, which has started to actually stop me. I've come a bit of a hermit. Like I keep saying to my hubby, I just need a cottage. Would be a witch in the cottage in a massive field. That's all I need. Because the judgment on it, and I don't think we should judge people if they leave, as long as they've turned up, at least they haven't just ghosted us. That's a bit of a weird phrase to use at this precise minute. At least they haven't just ghosted us. They haven't just left us in the court, left us, not bothered to show up, not bothered to show us any affection at all. They've actually shown up. And I think this is one of the issues that we've got in society is our expectations don't actually just go for us, they actually go for others. And this is actually where it causes more trauma for people, especially emotional trauma, because I know for myself growing up, like my grandparents were so strict when I was growing up. And I look back now and I think they were strict because of their childhood. They just wanted me to do better, but their expectations of me caused me trauma. So even your friends, like I'm not dissing anyone when I say this, so please don't take this to offense. But even when you're saying to your friend, oh, why didn't you stop that hour? Why didn't you turn up for that cup of coffee? Why didn't you do this? When you're saying that, what you're doing to your friend is pushing them away rather than say, what's going on, sweetheart? Why aren't you comfortable? It's just that change of wording that can help rather than actually like digging on them about why they left you. It's, which is abandonment issues. It's more about what's going on? How can I help? How can I assist? Is there something I can do? Can I make you a bedroom up while you're here so you can sit comfortably? So doing these little things actually to make them feel included as well. actually may soon get them to come back out their shell and come back into the group, especially people that's had trauma.
How does that then show up in the person's body, those responses from the trauma, from the isolation, from feeling like I'm abandoning my partner, therefore I'm abandoning myself?
Oh, blimey, so many ways. So many ways. I've seen people that just won't leave the house. They think they've got agoraphobia, and it's not that. They've just disappointed people so much when they've gone out and about that they've just now can't leave the house. There's people as well where I've witnessed it with hand gestures, like myself. If I'm getting anxious, I do hand gestures. One of the things I've actually seen in someone is they're actually overly chatty. So even though I'm naturally overly chatty, they were overly chatty. Like they're usually really timid, and they were telling me everything. And I was like, whoa, you don't have to be anxious around me. And they're like, it's not you. And I'm like, okay, I get who it is, but let's breathe because there's other ears. You don't want them knowing your business. So it's that sort of thing that we need to think about is okay, what actions are they doing at this precise minute? Not overthink it, if that makes sense. Just simple things like, are you okay? You doing okay? What's up today? What you been up today? What you been doing? Are you enjoying the party? And if they say yes and they're stood in a corner, bloody leave them.
No, right, because they may be comfortable. It's like someone who's oh, I forget the term. It's like someone who maybe is suffering anxiety, right? They go to a function and their body is starting to react because maybe they're feeling overwhelmed and now they're anxious. But they're sitting down because they're soothing themselves, right? It may not be that they're antisocial, maybe a little bit, but at that point, they're just trying to soothe themselves. When it comes to the work that you're doing, then, can you see that in people? If so, how?
So how I go back to the ancient days is what I go back to. When we say this. So basically, we would have had in the old days in our communities, we would have had our person, and I'm talking about, centuries ago, not only a few hundred years ago, we would have had our person who would have been classed as the nursery. So they would have had all the children, etc. And we see that quite a lot. We have that motherly figure at the parties, don't we? That stood in the corner keeping the kids happy, or the nutty uncle. So we have that a lot in the corner. Then we have like the hunter-gatherer. So like we'll have the hunter that's going out for it. They're usually the ones that we need to run from, going out for its next victim and stuff like that. And then we have the gatherer. Now the gatherer is the one we need to worry about because they're on their own 90% of the time, but that 10% of the time they allow themselves to be with other people. I don't usually see hyperventilation until they're on their own because they're not 100% comfortable to do the hyperventilation. Um, I hate that shows show the panic attacks, and I'm like, yeah, it's not quite that way. You may suddenly see that they've disappeared. Don't chase after them because you're going to make it worse. They're in fight or flight mode. So if they've disappeared and they've sat in the toilet for 3 hours and you've got another toilet, tell everyone to use the other toilet. Don't go after them. You go banging on that door, they're going to panic. So don't go after them. You may also have the person who fidgets. So my daughter stims, so she rocks. So you may have the person that starts to fidget. Don't try to stop that. Allow it to happen. It's one thing that I actually see a lot of partners when they recognize their partners doing the fidget thing, like they sort of walk up to them, put their arm around them. Don't, because that's the last thing they need. Their energy is already draining. The last thing they actually need is to be touched. Because again, they're going in fight or flight mode. And I think this is the important thing for us to understand. There's so many signs. You know what? I'm sat here thinking about it. Eye contact is another one. Eye contact's actually a massive one. It's actually one of my biggest. If I can't keep eye contact with someone, or I'm sort of darty, Like I'm darty anyway because I have ADD. But if I'm really darty and I'm actually in front of you, my hubby's like, I'm getting you away from them. I'm getting you away from them. If I can't even actually look at their body, like usually I know it sounds weird, but I'll pick like, because I don't like eye contact. So I'll pick like nose or forehead or ears or something to look at. So my hubby, if he noticed that I can't even look at them, he will come and grab me straight away. He's like, no, we're not going to have you in that situation. He is amazing. I am so blessed to have him. And then we have, because as well, because of trauma, you are sort of an empath. So the intuition, you can feel someone's sort of a hunter and stuff like that. Um, and then we have the worst, I personally would say, and that is the over vocal. If they are being over vocal, they are putting themselves in danger. A lot of danger for criticism. They're putting a judgment, everything. They are putting themselves in so much danger, which is really, really worrying for me. When I get an over talkative, I'll walk up to him and go, "You're right, darling, let's go and chat over here," and remove them away from the situation because I'm like, this is dangerous. If you're over talking, you're oversharing, that can actually then lead to other issues socially.
They can become isolated.
Yes. Very isolated because you've told everyone your business. You've told everyone what's going on with you. You've told them all your financial business. You've told them everything. You know the type, don't you? And it's like all of a sudden the community just goes, hmm, well, do I really want to know them? I know everything that's going on in their life. And all of a sudden your business is everywhere around the town or the village. And you're just like, how can I show my face? How can I let people see me now that they know my ins and outs? So they are actually the most danger to themselves.
It's like the grieving partner who starts to date again, and everyone is like, "Are you dating already?" Shame and guilt.
Exactly. And do you know what? Judgment darkens our soul quicker than anything. Judgment is the thing that darkens our soul. And the only reason we can't go into the light is because of judgment on ourselves. Even judgment on ourselves darkens our soul quick. So it's like, this is a thing. So as well as them got everyone around them judging them, they're then judging themselves. So their soul's most probably going further and further, further down. And this is when we then get the addiction issues or we get the other issues coming in. And all they wanted was a friend. They were lonely. They just wanted someone to trust. Their trust had been broken so much that they didn't recognize the fact they shouldn't be trusting all these people.
And so many times that the people that you trust that break your heart, that weaponize your vulnerability, they could be the closest people to us. Not Sally. How can Sally do that to me? Johnny, I just told him that this happened to me as a child, and now we got into this argument and they brought it up and they've weaponized it. And I just realized they told everybody in our neighborhood. Now I can't go outside to go check the mail because when people look at me, it's not eyes of love, it's eyes of judgment. Right?
Exactly that. And it's not just that. What you'll find is the hunter will find this gatherer. The hunter always finds that gatherer because then what they can do is they then can manipulate them because they're already lonely. They're already showing the biggest sign that they're lonely, that they're needing that comfort, they're needing that company. So that hunter will zone in on them, not the one that's in their cells. Because and people are like, oh, it's always the one that's in their cells. I'm like, it's not, it's a chatterbox. And that's why when you see these really, really I'm trying to think of a famous case. Tina Turner is a great case to actually look at. Really out there, really out there. No one knew what was going on at home. No one knew. She was this confident woman, everyone thought. She was absolutely amazing. She was absolutely brilliant. But Ike was doing what he was doing at home to her. But everyone thought because she was chatty and she was social and she was this amazing person, when to be honest, she was on her eyeballs and she admits this before she passed, God's rest her soul, she admitted this, that she was on so many antidepressants back then to try and get her head okay and stuff. And to me, I always use her as an example because I think the film from the early 2000s did an amazing job to show it's not just the quiet ones. And 90% of the time, it's not the quiet ones. They want the trophy on the arm that they can show off. They want the trophy on the arm that they can say, oh, look at this, look what I've got. And she's social and she's making them connections for them in business and she's making them look good and stuff like that. And this is the problem. So that's why I always say the social anxiety butterfly is actually the most dangerous. They're putting themselves in the most danger.
Everyone wanted her life until they realized what it came with from the romantic side.
Yes, exactly that.
And that's the
Exactly that.
thing with, yeah, and that's the thing with energy, right? Like you look up from the outside, I can present a specific type of energy to like, wow, Trey looks like he has everything. But deep inside me is a different type of energy. Is that accurate? The energy we put out versus the energy that we have inside of ourselves?
Massive. Absolutely massive. One of the ways I tell is the eyes. So I always look at the eyes. The eyes are the window to our soul. Like they are the window. I put up a photo a couple of weeks ago on my YouTube channel and people were really shocked. They were like, that is not you. My whites of my eyeballs are grey. They were literally grey. And I was like, yeah, that's me. My eyes, but I literally, the eyes just tell it all. Um, with her, she knew that she was using eye drops. I remember watching that in the film. She was using eye drops just before any shows or going out and about. So she obviously knew that. So there's obviously tricks around it. I just need to warn that, guys. So there's obviously tricks around it, but the energy we put out very much is different who we are on the inside. And sadly, sometimes what happens is we actually forget who we are on the inside, which then causes our soul to go grey. Because what happens is we go off our soul's purpose. And the reason for this is because we don't want to acknowledge that person in the inside. We don't want to accept the darkness within. We don't want to forgive ourselves and stuff like that, because that is the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We're all torturing ourselves 24/7, aren't we?
How do you help people find that balance or to combine the two then in a healthy and positive way?
Yeah, yin and yang. It is one of the most important things to come out of ancient China. Yin and yang is the one of the most best ways that I always explain it to people. Everyone's like, well, how are you so light? You're so positive. And I'm like, no, I'm yin and yang. There be days where I can't be bothered to get out of bed. I'll sit and scroll for 2 hours before I get out, if as long as I haven't got a meeting to get to. There be days where I literally sit there and go, my daughter will walk in the room and I'm like, do I actually have to deal with you today? And that's not me meaning to be rude, or it's just the fact my energy, I haven't got it that day. I haven't, for whatever reason, I haven't got it that day because our body is affected by our environment. The moon, people don't realize this, the moon cycle actually changes our hormones as well as our water retention, etc. So even that is actually a massive thing. It's also affected by the people we've been around. It's also affected by what we're eating. It's also affected by what we're drinking. It's also affected by our hormones. So especially like I'm now 40, I'm 41 this year, so I'm getting to menopause stage. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to have another hormone adjustment coming up very soon. And this is the thing that I think is really important, if I'm honest, is understanding our bodies. When men start to bald, it means they're getting less testosterone. So their chemical balance is changing, and it's a proven fact that some people they can prove have depression because of this chemical imbalance within the brain. So it's that sort of importance to understand that there is other factors as well.
Getting old is something that so many of us know that we're going to experience. It's a blessing to get old because not everyone has the ability to get old. Some people unfortunately pass away before that. But embracing it, I think for some people is still a struggle because they're holding on to their former self, that former identity, that former energy. When you're working with the people that you work with and you're seeing the energy shift in themselves from the past to their present when they're in front of you and their future self. What do you think are some of the obstacles that, in general, people are facing in accepting the new version of themselves, which is on the path to become?
Oh, that is such a good question that I've never been asked. Oh, that I love this question. So for me personally, energy can change week to week. I can do so I want a tarot reading one week and the path looks like one thing, and then do a tarot reading next week and it look like completely different. There is some people where I'm pulling the same cards over and over again. That does my head in. But there is some people that I do that for. But energy speaks volumes, absolute volumes for this. So basically, they don't know how to forgive themselves. So one of the things for me personally, I think I'll share this personally, one of the things that I actually had to forgive myself for is not being good enough for my nan and granddad. I had to forgive myself. Like, and everyone will say to me, I remember someone saying to me, no, they have to ask you, say sorry to you. And I'm like, no, I put the pressure on. They said the words, yes, but I put the pressure on. I tortured myself. When I was expected, when I sat in them exams, it was me pressuring myself. It was me in my own head. It was me telling me that I needed to do this to prove it to them. It was me doing that behavior. Yeah, sometimes this works amazing, especially with ambition, and it does to be able to prove things. But there's two different types of pressure when you're constantly in your head going, I'm not good enough, compared to when you're going ambitious, going, yeah, I'm good enough. Why aren't I already there? There's so much difference in that. So I had to forgive myself for the years I was going, I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as so and so. Why can't I do it? Why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? Why aren't I doing it? And I had to sit there and go, actually, that was my fault. I put more pressure on me than they did. And I think in a way, I was the chatter social butterfly. So I think in a way, they didn't even realize they were putting this much pressure on me. When I look back now, I think in some sense, they just thought they had to explain why. And for me, I was taking that as I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Why do I have to be the savior? Did give me a savior complex for a little while, but I'm over that now.
How did thinking that you're not good enough show up from an energy perspective for you?
Negative. Even now, saying that out loud, I can feel the negative energy coming straight into the back of my neck, like straight in, which by the way, our throat chakra's there. So that's our blue chakra. I can just feel that coming in as if to say, why are we unaligning our throat chakra? So I know afterwards I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on that. But it just pulls you down. It gives you a goal. That's the way I'm going to word it. It gives you a goal. So if you meet CEOs, they don't have a goal. There's no end goal. So when people say, "Oh, they have a target," yeah, they have a target, but that's not a goal. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "There's no end goal for a CEO. You meet these CEOs, there's no end goal. They, you know, Simon Colby on YouTube actually says it best. When they started out, we didn't expect 16 million followers. 16 million subscribers. We didn't expect to be as big as they are. They're now multimillionaires. You know, they never gave themselves a goal. They gave themselves a target, yes, but never a goal. Whereas when you're doing that to yourself, going, I can't do it, you've now put a level. You can't go above that level because you've now put a level. So you've gone, I can't do it. So you're going straight into that roof. So you can't go higher because you've told yourself you can't do it. There's no way past that goal. I've reached my goal. That's the end of. So how am I meant to go any further? So this is the sort of thinking that negative energy actually gives. It stops us from doing anything, sadly.
Like some people's pursuit of happiness, it's a target that they're always chasing.
Yeah, why are you chasing it? Why? Why are you chasing it? Your happiness is you. The small things. Watching your kid walk into your bedroom in the morning and go, Mum, can I get in bed with you? I need a cuddle. Do you know what? Oh, that's made me a little bit emotional saying that one. I only said to my husband today, there was a little toddler and he was being a little monster. My kids were monsters. Well, they weren't actually that bad, but when they were monsters, I'm one of these people that walk in and encourage your children to be cheeky because I like their personality to show to me. I don't like the hidden personality. I want to know who your child is. I want to know who you are. And we walked into the shop today and there was a little boy and he was running around and his mum and dad were trying to get hold of him. And I sort of stood there and mum was like, please don't move. And I moved and went, oh, sorry, I didn't hear you, lovely. And I turned around as if I didn't hear her. And I giggled and went, go on, mate, go run and give her a smack on the bum. And he ran round the back and he tapped her bum and he giggled and she let him pick him up. And she looked at me in amazement and I went, just play with them. They are only that age once. Turn it into a game. And she looked at me and I could see the tears in her eyes. She's obviously had a bad day and she just went, thank you. That's the happiness. Seeing them tears in that mum's eyes, that's happiness. Remembering holding your baby for the first time, remembering your school prom, remembering, well, as long as it weren't traumatic, but the fun stuff, remembering the good times. The fact you wake up in the morning, there's plenty of children which are passing away early from cancer and everything that don't get to be your age. You should be happy and delighted to be able to celebrate your next birthday, to be able to celebrate that you've got up in the morning. You should be delighted with that. You should be able to delighted that you can walk out in the countryside and take a big breath, fresh air. There's people that can't do that. So we should absolutely, the little things, not spending 2 grand on a holiday or anything like that. It's the small things. Like even our conversation now,
Why do you think people struggle to celebrate themselves?
because that's what we're trained. That is what we're trained from a child. I was trained it. From a child, I was taught that to be good is what everyone else saw. To be perfect is what everyone else saw. To be amazing is what everyone else saw. It wasn't what I felt. It wasn't what I saw. It wasn't what I did. It was what everyone else judged it by. I have it now with my neighbours. They literally, two of my girls will only go out if we're going to a country walk. They'll only go out of the house then. They won't leave the house. And my neighbours will say to me, oh, we ain't seen your children in a week and a half. We ain't seen your children for a little while. I'm like, yeah, I know. But do you know what? They're safer and happier than your kids. And I'll walk off. Bit more nightmare, really, and I sound like a nightmare neighbour.
When you mention this from other people, I start to think of, let's say, your childhood. Or not yours specifically, but maybe yours. Let's say childhood for a lot of people. Everyone has one, right? And we have our caregivers. And the energy of a child, for the most part, is pure because it's untouched, right? It hasn't been influenced yet. But as we grow up, we take the energy from our parents, we take it from our family members, we take it from the people around us. It shapes our energy. As we get older, the more interaction, the more connection we have with different energies, some positive, some negative. Now we're 18 years old. We're an adult. We want to go into the world. The energy that we had when we were 4 years old is vastly different than the energy we have at 18. Could it be then the energy that we have as an adult is more so a combination of the energy of the people we've interacted with more so than our own?
Yes. Heck yes. So one of the things that I actually do during energy cleansing is remove soul ties. So basically everyone you interact with, you get a soul tie. So even us now, we have a soul tie because we've interacted. So yeah, positive ones, love it. And this is a thing that's really important that people don't recognize is we get a soul tie. So we have a piece of their energy. So I even do it with my girls now. If they do something, one of my daughters the other day, she literally sat there and pulled the most goonyish face. And I just looked at her and I went, "Oh, you don't have to look like your dad." And it is a face that he always pulls. So, and she just went, "So?" She says, "Is my dad?" And most kids would be like, "How dare you say that?" Ooh. But with her, it's like she doesn't care. Whereas for me today, I was told that I look like someone that I absolutely detest. So for me, it's like, ugh, I feel that and that negative energy comes in. I can feel that coming in rather than the positive. So it's sort of like we will realize this, and sometimes people will say it to us, like me with my daughter, my uncle with me today. And sadly, what happens then, that can then actually bring in either positive or negative reinforcements to it. I will just explain goonish in this house means silly. I better explain that. And this is one of the things that's actually crazy because from a child, we have this negative and positive reinforcement, and we have it for people around us. So, one of the things that I actually see a lot, which is the biggest trigger that people don't seem to recognize as a trauma problem, is actually abandonment. So that was my biggest trigger. So even though I had been SA'd, I'd been raped, I'd been emotionally abused, I'd watched my mum be beaten, I myself. So even though I'd seen all this, for me personally, when I was doing it all, the it was oh, that's made me go off cue what I was saying. Sorry, lovely. Um, it was more sort of remembering who I was instead of I wasn't this angry teen that was watching my mum, because I was picking up on his anger and I was going around the school hitting people because I'd had enough of where do I get my frustration from out of. Or I wasn't this child where I'd had this negative influence put into me. So this is a problem that we have with all these negative energies. They come into us and they do leave. And this is one of the things that I always say. People talk, this one things that I really get annoyed with gurus say, they're like, "Oh, vampire suckers." And I'm just like, yeah, but we're going to talk about the fact they're putting something back in you. And they're like, "Oh no, we don't talk about that. We don't want to tell people that." And I'm like, that's not a good thing. If we're not being honest with people, telling them about the fact they're putting influence back into them. And this actually goes for TikTok, YouTube, who you're watching on TV, what you're influenced by on TV. This goes massively as well for that. And I think this is one of the things that for me personally, I really struggle with when I'm talking to people because they don't seem to recognize it a lot until they're on the healing journey.
People will always talk about the drainers. People don't talk about those who deposit into you.
Exactly. They never talk about it. And I spoke about it, first time I spoke about it was about 4 years ago. And the guru that I was talking to at the time, she went, "We don't talk about that." I went, "But why? Why are we hiding it? Why are we giving them all the positive and none of the negative, none of the stuff that they need to protect themselves from? Why are we doing this to them?" And she was like, oh, because then they'll come to the white light. And I'm like, yeah, but they'll come to the white light without knowing how to protect themselves. They start to get onto a soul's journey, and all of a sudden something will trigger them, and they'll be like, back when they're 5, we've all had that experience where we've had a flashback or something, and we're back when we're 5. I says, and they won't realize that all that is that soul ties come back in because they've had something happen. For me, it was men babysitting my daughters. I couldn't stand that. I really struggled with that mentally. And this is one of the things that I get really frustrated with. And by the way, flashbacks aren't a bad thing. So I don't care what the therapists say, etc. They are a protection tool. They are there for our brain to say, something's going on. Listen, what happened at this point of our lives?
It's like if I take it from a relationship perspective, right? You have two people, and one person is telling the other person, you're ugly, you're fat, no one's gonna love you. They're depositing negative energy into you because a positive person or someone who's truly in love with you and their actions match their words, they would say that you look beautiful, you're nice, you're consoling. So these are positive deposits. And I think sometimes maybe the reason why people don't talk about the deposits is because some people will take that negative deposit and then deposit it into other people, or they will become drainers themselves. So it's the person who's been, let's say, emotionally abused or verbally abused. You're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. That relationship ends, you go into another relationship and that person starts to treat you well. You're like, why is he treating me like this? Why is she treating me like this? And then you begin to abuse that person because your baseline is the abuse. So now you're uncomfortable. And one way for you to be comfortable is to bring the chaos into a relationship. He or she's not going to bring it. So who else is going to bring it? The other person who knows the history. So I think sometimes that's why people don't talk about the deposits, is because it may turn them into someone that does it as well. The oppressed becoming the oppressor.
Or is it because they don't want to recognize it in themselves that they're already doing it?
And they just needed a vehicle to do it.
Because let's be honest, 90% to 100% of narcissistic relationships, that's how they start out. They start out with the love bombing. I love you, you're beautiful. And they slowly take to the dark side. So this is the thing. They know, they're very smart on energy, very, very smart on energy, narcissists. They're actually smarter than us on energy. I've met some gurus and I've gone, ooh, dark, dark. And I've wanted to run in the opposite direction, but they've got 1.7 million followers. And the reason being is because they're very good at knowing how to emotionally manipulate you.
How can we protect ourselves against that?
Oh,
Because we
heal.
can identify it. We talked about that, but then how can we identify it? How can we then protect ourselves? What's the shield?
One, our white light. So I talk a lot about our white light, getting our white light out and putting it around us as a border. And it doesn't just come out in meditation. This really frustrates me. We have it there all the time. I always have mine out. So one, our white light, and put it as the reason why I say put it as a border is imagine it like the girl from Incredibles force field. Everything's just bouncing off it. Just imagine it as like that. So nothing can penetrate it. The next thing is intuition. You're so many people are ignoring their intuition, and it frustrates the hell out of me. We've all been there when we pull our handbag in closer and we're like that. Who's walking behind me? Or, stuff like that. We all have intuition. It's part of survival instincts. Even a deer has its intuition, when it sticks its head out because it can sense something's not quite right. And this is the important thing. We now, as humans, we rely too much on technology. We rely too much on other people giving us the gossip rather than actually what we're thinking ourselves. So if you've gone, everyone loves that person, but I don't like them. I don't know why, I just don't like them. If you've done that, I do that with 90% of famous people. Like, it's rare that I like a famous person. And this is one of the things that really, for me personally, is a massive sign that you need to listen to yourself. So if you've looked at them and just gone, that ain't safe, they ain't safe, you need to feel that. Or actually, one of the best ways to feel it in your soul is your soul will recheck back. I don't know if you've ever had this. So you can feel your soul all the time at the front when you're near someone. Your soul will go to your back as if trying to pull you away. So you suddenly get sort of like an ache in your back, like in your stomach area, as if in between your kidneys, and you're like, why do I feel like I need to retract? That is your soul telling you, get away, move away from that person. We just need to rebuild that intuition back up. And please remember, when people say, oh, well, the top dogs don't want you knowing this. I just want to say that because you'd run 100 miles away. Believe me.
We've traded self-awareness for external things to help us become more aware when it was always inside of us.
Heck yes. Heck yes. There was things that I look back at now, and there was massive signs, massive, massive signs. And I look back now and I think, why didn't I listen to myself? Why didn't I listen to myself? And don't get me wrong, I know that I have to clear that. That's the one I have to clear off quite a lot, because we have to clear off our own energy from negative. Because I do sit there and I just think, I saw that, but I was such a people pleaser. I would sit there and go, oh yeah, I love them. They're absolutely amazing. But I saw all the red flags. And the red flags might as well have been like a shaman with their flag over my face. I could see it, but I was looking through it rather than actually going, because they could take me somewhere. And really, in a way, do you want to sacrifice your own energy to just go somewhere?
Amy, let me ask you one final question on that note before I let you go, but I want to give you three wishes for this question. What are three things you wish people knew about trusting their energy when it comes to identifying red flags, and why?
Intuition. I wish people would trust their intuition more. Like, massively wish they'd trust their intuition more. Number two is recognizing their own toxic behaviors, because sometimes our own toxic behaviors actually bring in the darkness. So recognizing it, I call it accepting the darkness within, knowing that we are light and we are dark. And third one is, I think for me personally, is get someone that's going to be honest with you. You are yourself a natural lie detector. You will know if that person's not being honest. You will know if it's just excitement. You will know if it's whatever it is, you'll know they're not being honest. Make sure when you sit there, and one of the biggest signs that someone is really connecting with you is goosebumps. We see it a lot in K dramas, oh, got goosebumps. That is one of the major ways to know someone's being really truthful and honest, and it is a positive connection. Goosebumps are not for fear. Everyone's like, oh, they're for fear. They're actually not. It can